Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. I wanted to show you this article. This is from AMB Crypto. This is Ripple XRP. The European Parliament member talks about the benefits of blockchain and EU stance on digital assets. Now this is from this is Eva Caitli, I guess is how you say that. She spoke at Ripple Regional's event. It was organized by Ripple at a hotel in London. And she says something in here that I've kind of gone over before, but I wanted to re-emphasize this point. I've said many times that I got into digital assets back in 2013. Well, back then, and see, this is I know that we've been in a long bear market here, but it's important that you understand where we are now. Even though we're in a bear market, where we are now versus where we were in 2013, 2014. Back then, I had my investment and I was literally sitting there and I did not know if tomorrow I would wake up and digital assets would be outlawed. And back then, everybody referred to them as cryptocurrencies, crypto and that type of thing. So it had a negative, the entire connotation was negative when everybody talked about it. It was like the inference with crypto back then was all that this was for criminals, money laundering, and all of that. And the governments were all afraid of it, more or less, and that's the reason that they were attacking it all the time. But nobody really knew back then. Well, she's speaking about the same kind of thing about what it was like when she was trying to talk to people in the European Parliament about it back then. She said, speaking at an event, she talked about how she faced a lot of pushback from the first blockchain conference she attended in 2014, just because she was a politician. She continued that this made her more intrigued and curious to dwell deeper into the technology and learn more about it. Then she says, I believe that if we were not positive, the resistance of the traditional players would only increase and could even kill a technology that had so much potential for good. And it says, she further stated that there's a huge contrast between then and now, and said that the scenarios had changed quite a lot. In addition, she continued that the regulation of blockchain and digital assets was well received by EU banks and leaders from different financial institutions. Now, I have a different opinion in terms of, I don't think that these people have accepted this technology because they wanted to or because they like the technology. I believe that they finally accepted that if they do not accept this technology, that it will be the death of them. And I believe that they've chose the smarter route instead, which is to embrace it and learn and figure out how they as banks and central banks can adopt the technology and somehow get their arms around it and use it and be a part of it, instead of trying to prevent it and to prevent their own death is really what I think it's about. And so that to me it shows you how powerful digital assets are, that they have accepted it because truly they didn't want to. But this is the other part of this. That's the reason that I've been with XRP, that I liked Ripple and what they were doing all along, because Ripple chose to go to the governments from the very beginning and approach it in the smart way. And I've said before, if I had started investing in digital assets if I was 18 years old back in 2013, then I may have become a Bitcoin guy. But I've been around a little longer than that, and I've been around long enough to know that you're not going to keep the governments out. The governments are not going to let a new technology of any kind replace them. One way or another, they're going to figure out how to control it one way or another in some form or fashion. And so I chose XRP because they went about it the right way and the smart way, and still are every day. Okay, next I wanted to show you this. This is a tweet from CCN. Simply logical for every big macro fund to hold 1% in Bitcoin, billionaire investor. Now this is Mike Novogratz. I've talked about him quite a bit. He has predicted that the crypto market will be a 20 trillion plus market. And I just wanted to give you the gist of what he's saying in this article. He's making the point this is not necessarily going to happen overnight, although it could. But there's a quote in this article that he said, and what he's referring to is 1%. He believes that major funds, all major funds, or most major funds at some point will realize that it's not risky. It's a smart play for them to put 1%, allocate 1% in Bitcoin. Now, I think that will probably flip over time, and it'll be something like XRP. But regardless, if XRP just got a tiny slice of this same thing, and remember, 2 years ago we didn't have XRP in any kind of a fund. Now we do. So just imagine how this is all going to multiply. But I'm going to read you his quote. And when you hear him say Bitcoin, he's like a lot of these guys. When I hear Bitcoin, it means the same thing for all of the top, the real legitimate top 5 or 10 digital assets. He says it won't go there to $20 trillion right away. What is going to happen is one of these intrepid pension funds, somebody who is a market leader is going to say, you know what? We've got custody. Goldman Sachs is involved. Bloomberg has an index I can track my performance against. And they're going to buy. And all of a sudden, the second guy buys. The same FOMO that you saw in retail will be demonstrated by institutional investors. And that is what he is so right there. And this has kind of been the theme of my channel over the last few months. And that is, you don't have, like we had in 2013, the question marks then were, is this going to be anything at all? Are digital assets going to be anything, or are they just going to disappear overnight or be outlawed tomorrow? That was the question then. Now, the question is not whether it's going to be adopted. All of these Wall Street firms are coming. They're telling you they're coming. So regardless of whether you're sitting in a bear market, they're coming. They're telling you they're coming. It's just a matter of how fast the dominoes fall. And I believe that I believe that a lot of you out there can't imagine how fast that they are really going to fall, but I believe they're going to fall even faster than I believe. I believe they're going to fall really, really fast when this starts to happen. And he's right in what he's saying there. I want to throw a couple of other things at you here. This is from C3 Nick. Yesterday I covered an article where there was a debate going on with a lot of the Bitcoiners about whether they needed to increase supply. And I threw out a few questions from that. The first thing is, if you're decentralized, then how do you have any say whatsoever in whether there's going to be a supply increase? And the point is that it's not decentralized. If it was decentralized, then it wouldn't even be a conversation that you could even bring up about doing anything to change Bitcoin. But they do bring it up because they know it's not decentralized deep down, even though they won't admit it to themselves. But if it was, the mining, the proof of work is not decentralized. It's as simple as that. And the fact that they're even having, it's the dumbest conversation, by the way, that I've ever heard in my life. The one thing that Bitcoin has going for it is that there will never be more than 21 million. And the idea that someone is dumb enough to even bring that up, I mean, talk about something that would scare people. To even bring that up is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard of. But C3 Nick was kind of poking fun at that. They've built a self-proclaimed store of value, and then they discuss if they should double the maximum amount of Bitcoin. Sounds like satire, but it isn't. I mean, it's ludicrous. It's literally crazy that they're actually even, that anybody in the Bitcoin community would actually even say that, because they call themselves a store of value, but really they only call themselves a store of value because Bitcoin is not good for anything else. It can't move fast. It's not scalable. It's expensive. And so they said, hey, we'll call it a store of value. Well, my store of value, my XRP store of value, I can move it in 3 to 4 seconds, and it costs less than a penny to do so. You can't do that with Bitcoin. I think I'll keep my store of value. Okay, moving on. Mr. B did a couple of really good tweets. This guy deserves a lot of credit in the XRP community, and go follow him at XRP Mister. He puts out a lot of good tweets. For those of you that don't know, SunTrust and BB&T announced a merger. And he said, a banker family member told my wife today that SunTrust and BB&T merged to advance technology together. He further explained to her that all money was going to be on our phones. Glad she's finally hearing this from people other than me. Now, folks, I've gone over this a lot of times. Amazon destroyed retail. You're seeing Sears and Kmart, they're closing their doors left and right. Circuit City's out of business. All the rest of them will be out of business. Walmart has begun to open up grocery stores because they know that there's no real future in on-the-ground retail unless it's food and things that you need right then. And so you're about to see the same thing, and it may take 5 to 10 or 15 years for them to disappear. But there is not a need to walk into a bank. There's not a need to walk into a bank. There's really not. In fact, my bank it's a good drive away from me, but I have their mobile deposits, and so I never go there. And I operate with that bank account all the time. You don't have a need for a physical location for a bank, and digital assets are going to make them disappear. So you just watch. And then also from Mr. B, I like to put these things in perspective for you. He says, believe this. Now, people, I know that you can't even imagine this right now, but just sit back and wait, because you're going to see it. You're going to feel what he's talking about here. Believe this is from Rob Art. Last bull run, I was on my couch, up 800%. My heart was racing, and I literally started chewing on an aspirin because I thought I was going to have a heart attack. That is how fast it happens and how it feels. I never took profits. Listen to Rob. And then this is the tweet that he's referencing. XRP and BTC will eventually take off so hard you will find it hard to breathe, and your hands will start shaking as you sweat. Save this post to remind yourself to start taking profits little by little when you see your life being changed forever on the screen. That's what's about to happen, folks. I mean, I know that many of you just can't watch this stuff anymore, and you've had enough. But I'm here to tell you that this is the way this is going to unfold, and it's going to be sooner than you think. And so be tough and just keep on fighting the good fight out there, folks, because the digital asset investor is in it to win it, and I will be here. So if you get discouraged and you can't take the bear market, just walk away from it for a while. The digital asset investor will be here when you're ready to come back. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that at some point you're going to see your life being changed forever on the screen. Thank you for listening.